get the whole story.
Welcome back, and we now want to take the views from our viewers, and we go straight to the phone lines. And Habib Omar, and I assume this one is the former chair of the Nairobi City Commission, or Habib Omar Congo. Very good afternoon to you, Bwana Omar. What are your views today?
Thank you very much, Idimuli. Mwanzo, let me say Eid Mubarak na dada yako na nyinyi wengine wenzeni mlioko katika studio.
Eid Mubarak.
Inshallah, bismillah. Eid Mubarak pia kwa Waislamu wote pale pote walipo.
Go ahead.
Kwanza, I think registration of voters. I don't see why the reason why we should quarrel about it, because as you have seen other elections, Bwana Muli, you would recall manual backup is really good, because we cannot rely on electronic voting completely alone. So I think all voters of goodwill and the people of Kenya should support the manual backup. It is very frustrating if you go to an election when you want to vote and you find your name cannot go through electronic system. So it's good to have a backup. That is very important, and you have discussed it easily there. The next thing, maybe, and the Chief Justice is aware about it, they all know that our election is on the 9th, 2022. And the time is decent here for the Electoral Commission, because the justice delayed, as one of your personnel said there. Justice delayed is justice denied. And I think they are very much aware, and I am sure before the election day, or after maybe this week, we will be able to finalize the cases that are there. If we come to handing over, Muli, remember, nobody thought President Moi could hand over to Kibaki, but it went smoothly. I don't see any indication here that the current president, or there is any body language that the committee is not going to hand over whoever wins the election. So people should not have fears to that, because this type of fears is which that brings violence. And we are asking our people, wherever they are, they vote peacefully all over the country. That is so important. And so that Kenya, we have had many elections, but we hope this one will be very peaceful. People should come up in big numbers and be peaceful to vote. And I think that is what I have.
Okay, thank you so much, Bwana Habib Omar from Nairobi. Next on the phone lines, Julius Amache from Kisii. Good afternoon, Julius. What do you have for us today?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
The first thing I want to say is that our panelists today, or nowadays, are misleading us. They are just giving us their feelings, their views on what they believe should be done, because I think most of them, or a few of them, are paid by politicians to come and argue their cases in the studio. That is not objective. Number two, I want to go straight to preparation to the August 9 general election. For the first time, I'm saying that the IBC is trying, because for the first time we are seeing a transparent IBC which comes to the media trying to respond to questions objectively than there before. We should give them a benefit of doubt that at least for this time round, they can deliver. But they should include a manual register, because anything digital usually is bound to fail. We cannot rely on technology. We cannot. At this time, the stakes are very high. We should not play to the gimmicks, probably, of the doubting Thomas. We should not do or go that side. And then on the other side, I want to talk about the courts. The courts are playing an activism role. They want to frustrate IBC, because the judgments they give, honestly, sometimes does not give IBC time to prepare for this election. So we request our judges. We respect you. If you are so independent, that is okay. But be reasonable enough so that we don't jeopardize this election. Finally, I want to congratulate the Ministry of Internal Security. For the first time, we're experiencing a lot of peace 1 month to election. Matiang'i should be praised. The man who has hold this docket with a lot of wisdom and knowledge. Want to say that if things go like this, everybody will vote where he or she registered, and we shall have peace after 9th once we have sworn in Raila Amolo Odinga. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Julius Amache from Kisii. And finally, we have Dr. Mukiri Wagidendo from Murang'a. Good afternoon, Daktari. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Dimuri, for a very good program. I start with the IDC, and in view of the ruling from the High Court, they should allow all candidates, despite whatever they said about photocopies of IDs and so on. Chebukati should not have allowed printing of ballots before candidates have been gazetted. IEBC seems clueless. Chebukati should quit his opaque way of managing public affairs. The other problem seems to be possible corruption in the judiciary. How do you even adjudicate about candidates who are impeached, when impeachment itself implies banning somebody from public office? The tension between the commissioners is clear. Chebukati should be more consultative and allow the Secretariat to handle management issues. The CJ must have judges of all levels up to Supreme Court on a 24 hours and night schedule, so that all these issues coming for this dispute resolution can be handled within time to achieve the timelines. On the transition, I disagree with the Kipchumba Kalori that Matiang'i cannot play a good role in transition because he represents a particular side. His role as a minister is in charge of security under the current administration, and he will continue to handle that matter until a new cabinet secretary is appointed by the new administration, which will win the elections. We cannot keep on putting doubt on the work of ministers, because the country has to run under an administration that is in charge. And as much as you don't like the president, he is the one who is legally in charge. And he has to organize a transition according to the law, which is clear on who handles transition. The issue of lame duck is a wet dream by the Tagatangas, and it does not exist in the law. There is no lame duck president in Kenya. On counties or gubernatorial candidates, people like Sonko were impeached, and there is no way they should even be considered in becoming governors or anything like that. Sakaja has not demonstrated that he has any degree. So on what basis is he going to be allowed? And we don't have a clear degree for him. The lady there called Oyer seems to say that in Kiambu all candidates are great except Azimio. On what basis does she say Azimio doesn't have a good candidate in Kiambu? Let this kind of biases not come in the analysis, because the panel is supposed to be expert on issues. Corruption should be censored everywhere. Okay. Anybody, including Waiguru, who had issues to do with corruption, shouldn't be censored by the voters.
Thank you, Daktari. Because of time,
if the court cannot remove them or IBC.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mukiri Wagidendo from Murang'a. Asante sana for your views. Now back to my panelists for your final thoughts. And Julius Amache has challenged members of this panel. He says that quite a number of panelists appear to have been sent to argue cases for some candidates in studio today. You can defend yourselves as you give your final comments. 2 minutes each. Let's start with you, Kipchumba.
Which candidates are these? What we are telling Kenyans, I think, with below a month to election, Fred, my plea to Kenyans will be this. 4 months ago, there was a lot of shuffling in Nairobi. Mudavadi was negotiating with William Ruto what he will get. Raila Odinga was negotiating with Kalonzo, with everybody. My plea to Kenyans, make sure that the person you are voting for also at the lower level is a person who your selfish interest is secured. Vote for your interest. You are better off regretting after voting for your interest than voting because of a wave, voting because of a slogan. That has been our greatest undoing. We don't want to be here 2 months down the line. We have started the buyer's remorse. You leave the shop, you realize you should have picked a blue instead of a white dress. That is what we are telling Kenyans. And to you, whoever was saying we have been sent by candidates, tell him we also have a vote. Somebody should ask for it.
Okay, thank you, Kipchumba. Yes, this was.
I'll start by responding to the caller that when we present our arguments, they're anchored on our national and public interest. So there's a very high chance that the gentleman who called in, that maybe the person he supports, their policies are not anchored in a national and public interest, so he probably thinks that we are missing out. Because it's our responsibility to ensure that the 1,930 people are going to be elected into office are going to have a positive change in our lifestyles, socioeconomic lifestyle. And that's something, you know, we need to defend till the cows come home. You recall the CS for Interior, Dr. Matiang'i indicated that there are a number of wash candidates who want to go to office. We must continually call out such kind of names so that Murad does not elect a drug lord to go to the National Assembly. Because if they do, they will not be serving our national interest. And for the second time, I'd like to buttress a point raised by Kipchumba Karori, that we must vote with our selfish interest in mind. It's a basic concept in economics, so that you vote for somebody because they are going to transform your lifestyle. Let's vote for personalities whose word we can take to the bank, that we can trust. So let's abandon these 6-piece voting for several reasons, that the party primaries were not fair, free, nor credible. And let's vote for personalities who understand Kenya's national interest and public interest. If we do not do that, we'll be in trouble. Then number 2, let's vote so that we punish mediocrity, impunity, and corruption, and reward meritocracy. So that whoever we give power today, in the next 10 years, we can look at Singapore in the eye, we can look at South Korea in the eye and have a conversation. I pray that we vote in leaders who will make Kenya be respected, so that next time there's a G7 meeting, next time there's a G20 meeting, the person who's been elected as the president of Kenya is invited to go to these fora to present our view. You know, for me, really, I get troubled that it's always the president from Senegal or the president from South Africa who is invited to these international global meetings, because they know, because they're taking their nations to the next level.
Okay, thank you. This must, Rita?
Right, so by the Constitution, sovereign power belongs to the people. And the people exercise their sovereignty at national and at county level. So I'd really want to appeal to all voters that make your votes about your selfish interest. And I'd like to congratulate the media, because they are going around having these county debates. I hope even at the MCA level, people are having conversations about what is it that you're bringing to the table. Like the other 2 panelists have said, abandon this 6-piece. It has not worked for us. It will not work for us. And if you look at the case of Sri Lanka, for example, where people went to the presidential palace and they're swimming and they're showering, that is a small but very exciting demonstration of what really the power of a citizen is. As a citizen, these 2 levels of exercising my sovereignty are very important for me and to many Kenyans. Why? I stay in Nairobi, I vote in Mombasa, my parents or my village home is in Siaya, and I probably have interest in other counties, either as a business person and so on. So it is very important for us to look at how we exercise our sovereignty at the ballot. We are giving these people jobs. These are job interviews, and the media is helping us interview these people for the jobs. Let us make decisions, not because it's blue or yellow or some other color, but because the person that we are giving this job at the ballot is actually qualified to even do 50% of the things that we discussed when we were interviewing them. So I really appeal to the citizens, vote understanding that this is a job interview and you are the employers for these people that you're putting in office. Now to the question of having a bias, we are people, panelists are human beings and they're citizens, and they do have a preference here and there on some of the candidates and some of the promises. So if it shows, please bear with us. It's our humanity, and we do have votes, which we intend to exercise at the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Finally, Hesbon Owila, you get the privilege of wrapping it for us.
Thank you, Fred. I think I want to agree with my co-panelists, but go a bit granular. That in this election we have to be a lot more selfish and vote with our selfish interest at heart. But because the choices, are already out there, and it's going to be either the Right Honorable Raila Odinga or the Deputy President William Ruto. What we need to ask ourselves is, between the ticket of Raila Odinga and Martha Karua, which one is likely to change our lives? Raila Odinga, Martha Karua, and William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. Which one is likely to change our lives? Which one is likely, to take the, gains we've made at the macro level to the micro level where people will have money in their pockets and food at their table? Dismas talks about the international meetings, between Raila Odinga, Martha Karua, and William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua. Which ticket is likely to give us a presidency that will put Kenya on the global map? We know Dismas is being economical with his words. He's talking about the South African president and the Senegalese president. But we know in the last 7 years, no African president has marked himself at the international stage like President Uhuru Kenyatta. We actually chair the national security at the UN, courtesy of the progress and the prowess of President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay.
Between Raila Odinga and Martha Karua and William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, who is likely to address the cancer that has bedeviled Kenyans for the longest time
has born?
Cancer of corruption.
Yes.
Who is likely to fight corruption and ensure that the money that we lose to corruption is brought back to benefit Kenyans? We have one ticket that has a track record of social justice. We have another ticket that is, followed by corruption cases, and they're looking for how to get their money that is frozen to build a house and give people meat and rice.
Thank you, Hesbon.
Those are the choices we have.
Thank you so much, Hesbon Owila, media and communications professional. Rita Oyer, marketing and communications professional. Dismas, political risk analyst, and Kipchumba Karori, political strategist, also an advocate of the High Court. Thank you so much for your views on this show. 29 days to election. Remember, the conversation continues online on Twitter at KTN News KE. Use the hashtag InsidePolitics. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. Good afternoon.